Welcome back to the channel. 92% of women feel intense pleasure when touched here, but most men miss it. It's not her skin that responds, it's her nervous system, and most men never touch that. You think it's her waist, her neck, her thighs. You're wrong, because physical touch isn't about geography, it's about psychological resonance, and there's one zone, rarely touched, barely noticed, that lights up emotional pleasure centers faster than anything else. Not because it's sexual, but because it's recognized. This is what most men miss. Women don't crave your touch. They crave feeling emotionally felt. And when you learn to trigger that, it bypasses performance, attraction, even resistance. What I'm about to show you aren't techniques. They're psychological switches that create physical responses. And stay to the end, because the final point flips the entire way you think about physical touch and female pleasure. 1. She feels more when you touch with pause, not pressure. Most men use touch to initiate action, fast, firm, goal-driven. But her body doesn't open through force. It opens through being noticed. When you pause mid-touch, not freeze, not hesitate, but hold still with soft intent, you trigger her interoceptive system. That's what tells her brain, I'm being felt, not handled. The pause disrupts her habitual defenses. It signals safety. It opens sensitivity. Do this in low-pressure zones, the back of the elbow, the space just behind the ear, the top of the hip, not to stimulate, but to attune. That pause doesn't just feel good. It makes her feel chosen. This is how attention becomes dominance. 2. Touch the edges of her body, not just the center. Here's the leverage. Most men go straight for the obvious, but the perimeter is where her body scans for safety. The side of the ribs, the outer shoulder, the back of her knee. Why? Because the edges are where her nervous system processes presence. Touching the edge communicates, I see all of you, not just the parts that serve me. That bypasses sexual threat and activates psychological closeness. It doesn't say, I want you. It says, I get you, and that hits harder. 3. Mirror her micro-movements with delay, not speed. You don't match her instantly. You wait half a second, then a line. Most people try to sync quickly, thinking that's how intimacy is built, but fast syncing feels needy, reactive, submissive. The delayed mirror says, I notice you. I choose when to respond. That delay creates a mini leadership moment. She feels tracked but not controlled, whether it's how she shifts her fingers, tucks her foot, or breathes. It's the gap that makes her feel seen, not the mimicry. This is how high-status connection is felt, not performed. 4. Use temperature, not texture, to anchor emotional memory. Skin reacts to texture, but the nervous system responds to temperature. When your hand is slightly warmer than hers, especially on the back of her neck, inner wrist, or lower back, it activates oxytocin receptors faster. That's bonding chemical territory. But here's what matters. Warmth lingers. Her body remembers warmth longer than touch. So when you leave, she doesn't just miss your presence. She physically feels the absence. Touch her like you're writing heat into her nervous system, not just contact. That's how you become addictive without trying. 5. Withdraw mid-stroke, not at the end. Everyone thinks pulling away is rejection, not if it's timed right. When you almost complete a caress but stop just before finishing it, you create what's called pleasure suspense. Her brain fills in the ending, which makes her feel it more because she has to imagine it. This isn't tease, it's neurological embedding. Her pleasure doesn't peak when you give her more. It peaks when you leave a gap. That's not distance, that's imprinting. This is how you trigger craving without chasing it. 6. Trigger her pleasure anticipation by touching where you won't stay. Here's the hack. Start with touch in one area, but don't linger. Move away before it registers fully. Her body then begins tracking your hand. Anticipation spikes, dopamine rises. It's not the touch that turns her on, it's the loss of it. You're teaching her body to chase sensation, not because you're withholding, but because you're unpredictable. Now she's not waiting for what you'll do. She's wondering why she misses what you didn't. This is how you create emotional gravity without a word. 7. Graze across joint lines, not muscles. Her body processes emotional memory through kinetic sensitivity. When you touch her wrist, her ankle, the base of her neck, or the crease of her thigh, you activate proprioceptive tension. That's where emotional charge hides. Joints hold stress. They also release it faster through feather touch stimulation. Light grazing, not pressure, creates the deepest pleasure in these zones because it tells the body, you're safe enough to soften here. This is how arousal becomes emotional when she feels revered, not desired. Most men make their touch about wanting. Few make it about witnessing. There's a moment right after a slow breath, right before you speak, where you place your hand just above a sensitive point, but don't move. She feels it. She waits for it. You don't act. Why? Because restraint communicates reverence, and reverence is what makes desire safe. When your presence feels ceremonial, not performative, her body responds in layers she can't fake. This is what makes you unforgettable and untouchable. If you just realize that pleasure isn't about pressure, but perception, you've already shifted. Most people chase sensation. You just learn to trigger it. So if you're done using touch to prove something and ready to use it to reveal something, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.